the tower whenever we get caught. But we break loose and bend the moose, and now you know the plot. We're Animaniacs. Dog is cute and Yakko yaks. Wacko packs away the snacks while Bill Clinton plays the sax. We're Animaniacs.
And a very good Saturday morning. Hey, what can I say? It's raining again. Remnants of Debbie or whatever climate change action that's going on. At any rate, I am glad to say this is Brian's Beat, the only show born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. And again, got to welcome you back to the rain and thank ABC for telling us what they want us to know. Now it's my turn to let you know what I want you to know. Start with the Red Sox. Before I got into the bed, the Red Sox were winning 3-1 last night. When I woke up early this morning, the Red Sox had lost 8-4. What else? 137 shopping days before Christmas. From dead people to the almost deceased, investors look to turn a funeral home into a group parlor. New Bedford-like columnist Jack Spillane has a plan to better integrate New Bedford schools. When it comes to offshore wind, Nantucket leaders say, stop the project. Those families, homeless families ordered to leave emergency shelters, guess what? Many of them are still there. The feds admit they don't know. They don't know if sanctions against Russia and Cuba and China are really working. It's kind of a tax-free holiday weekend. I'll better explain after the Brian's Beat quote of the day. Jim has our Town Square Sunday preview, the Bitcoin Biz Barometer next half hour. Monthly FeeRx brings us the Brian's Beat quote of the day after we learn a little bit more about today, August 10th, 2024, and we celebrate our lakes today. If it keeps on raining like this, we're going to have even more lakes. International Biodiesel Day. Biodiesel. Not quite sure how those two work well together, but that's what it is. International Vlogging Day. It's where they kind of mix the video with the blog, and they call it vlog. National Bowling Day. My younger son really likes bowling. Wanted to take me out bowling a couple of months ago. I'm a hack. But it's okay. It's a fun game. It is the blue-collar sport next to taking those bean bags and throwing them in that hole. National Duran Duran Day. You remember back in the 1980s when Duran Duran was so popular? You got so sick of them because they were so popular? Kind of like the Taylor Swift of the 1980s. Whew. National Garage Sale Day. Probably not going to be too much of that going on today with the weather the way it is. But come September, come October, there'll be more garage sales going on. National Lazy Day. Now, why couldn't this lazy day have been on a Friday or a Thursday when I can say, well, I got the day off? National Lazy Day on a Saturday. I'm sorry that it doesn't work for me. Maybe it does for you. National Model Aviation Day. That's where people make the model airplanes, and some of them look great. Others, you ever wonder how they get those model planes in a bottle? Yeah, well, that kind of fits into what today is. National Shapewear Day. Do you look good in it? Or don't you? S'mores Day. You know, for many people, S'mores Day is almost every day. Anytime that you can get out in the backyard and into that little pit, take some graham crackers, some chocolate, and some marshmallow, you got yourself a s'mores. It's Skyscraper Appreciation Day. Are there any skyscrapers around here? Yeah, I didn't think so. Spoil Your Dog Day. I think dogs get spoiled all the time. Most dogs. There's some dogs that are treated like poop. But most dogs, they are treated very, very well. What a life of a dog. Think about it. All you do is you share your love, you wag your tail. You get fed, you get walked, and somebody cleans up your poop. Spoil Your Dog Day. It's also World Lion Day. World Lion Day. They really meant it on this day. That's what the folks in England were saying in 1776 when word finally circulated that this thing called the Declaration of Independence, it's really out there. And those colonists, they mean it. 1846. Talk about buying influence. Some guy named Smithson donated $500,000. In return, Congress charters the Smithsonian Institution. Not a bad deal. 1961, Our Nation, the first to ever invent and use Agent Orange over there in Vietnam. 1977, New York City police finally catch the son of Sam. David Berkowitz, in case you forgot the name. 1995, Timothy McVeigh, Terry Nichols indicted, both of them, for their roles in the Oklahoma City bombing. I'll never forget the words we're told that Timothy McVeigh said before they put that needle in his arm. You haven't seen anything yet. All this leads us to the Bryant's Quote of the Day, brought to you by Monthly Fee RX. If you're spending less than $20 a month for prescription drugs, great. If not, then our Monthly Fee RX service might be a good option for you. Check for yourself at monthlyfeerx.com. Banana Man. Hey, welcome back. Oh, the Bryant's Quote of the Day. America's present need is not heroics, but healing. Not nostrums, but normalcy. Not revolution, but restoration. That quote from Warren G. Harding. America's present need is not heroics, but healing. Not nostrums, but normalcy. Not revolution, but restoration. Very interesting. Not exactly sure what year he made that statement, but it's very, very fitting, even today, August 10th, 2024. And a very good morning to you.
Oh, hey, Brian. A couple of things. I could mention that Harding thing. Wasn't he considered the most corrupt president?
Oh, I don't know if he was or wasn't. I mean, I've never heard that. And certainly by today's standards, he was probably very mild.
Well, he got caught on a really obvious one. It was called the Teapot Dome.
I don't think that was him. I thought wasn't that more under Coolidge or one of those other ones?
Well, it was Warren Harding. And he was right before, Coolidge was before him. but yeah, what I was going to lead up to. Are you still a cab driver, or you used to be?
No, I haven't been one for several years now.
Well, the reason I ask, I heard you talking about biodiesel, and every cab driver, I would have thought, knew that the original diesel was really garbage water. And so biodiesel is probably just the same thing with a fancy name.
I can't speak for any other cab driver. I certainly did not know that.
Well, there was a Dr. Diesel, and he was the guy that invented it. And he might even have been a farmer that wanted to do something with horse crap and hay or whatever. And so he made a mush out of it and created fuel out of it. And in fact, I think diesel was before gasoline, and it was garbage water. It didn't require oil, didn't require petroleum. It's basically garbage water. And I'm the guy that calls from out in San Francisco, and we run our buses on that, and we've been doing it since George Bush II. You remember the old no blood for oil?
Do they tax that?
Well, the city owns the buses and contracts with a biodiesel producer. And see, we've got grease. We're a city of restaurants. I think at one point there were 20,000 restaurants in San Francisco, and probably still are. But all the grease from all those restaurants, since we're a peninsula, we don't have landfill. We can't be just dumping it in the bay, dumping it in the ocean. So to burn it up as biodiesel is a plus. And we run our buses on biodiesel and don't have to buy from the Saudis, thank you.
So I remember when I used to live out there, folks were using cooking oil from restaurants and putting that into their tanks. And at that time, the legislature was thinking about taxing it because they weren't getting the tax from the gasoline tax. So that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Maybe, I don't know if I haven't kept up with the contracts of who's the actual manufacturer. I mean, it could be the sewer department, It could be if you think about it, it's only logical. And so it would just be city employees, county employees that make the biodiesel anyway. So it's why you can't tax a city. And the city is doing as an advantage. It doesn't require landfill anymore, and it burns it up as fuel for the buses. It's a win-win. And the whole purpose of taxes is that if a manufacturer is costing the county some money, and dealing with heavy trucks or dealing with, trucks speeding down the highway, got to put in some stoplights and whatnot. That's where the taxes come in, and to pay for the damages put on by some enterprise. And otherwise, if everybody could just bend down and drink out of the stream and trust that water was clean, we wouldn't have to have this demand from friggin' Koch brothers to never, to close down the pollution requirements. I mean, this Project 2025, they want to get rid of pollution requirements.
I don't, I see how you shifted into Project 2025. I think the jury is out on that. I think that there's still going to be a lot of finger pointing at Donald Trump in regards to it, but I think many of the things that are proposed in 2025 that I've seen, doesn't matter if Donald Trump gets into office or Kamala Harris. Just not going to happen. I do appreciate your call. And, one of these times we're going to have to talk because I know you're from San Fran and I used to live in the city. We should, I'm curious at my old address. I see it quite often when I'm looking at old Grateful Dead or Jefferson Airplane videos on TV, but I'm curious as to what's happening on my old street at this particular time. 508 996-0500. A couple of weeks ago, I brought it up when the Olympics were just beginning. And I have another reason now why I don't watch the Olympic Games anymore. Now, I have to be honest, I do catch some of the highlights. But today's a classic example. I was sitting down here putting the papers down the way that I want to have them in order, and I had New England Cable News on, which is an NBC affiliate. And they were talking about a sport called break, which is break dancing. Now, can anybody explain to me why? Why is break dancing an Olympic sport? They call it break. I don't see the dancing part in there, but they had judges. And really? Well, it is an Olympic sport, so I guess you need judges, but think about that for a second. What's this, Dancing with the Stars in the Olympics? Break dancing. I get the fencing, some of the other sports, and break dance. I'm sorry. That just doesn't do it for me. Throw that puppy out the window. No pun intended for dogs, really. When I came in this morning, my normal routine is to come in through the door. I turn to the right and I walk over where my mail slot is. And they're hanging on the door. Legal notice enclosed. Direct to attention of the addressee or President General Counsel. And I'm thinking, what the heck is this? I see my name on there. And it's from Kroll Restructuring Administration, New York, New York. And I'm trying, I'm thinking to myself, my bills are paid, at least to the best of my knowledge. What the heck is this? In the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of Texas, Houston Division. And I'm saying, I'm here. What the heck is this? Notice of deadlines for filing proofs of claim. If I want to file a claim against Steward Health Center, I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to do that. But I guess this is part of the procedure, part of the protocol. Let everybody know. And I'm thinking to myself, people see this notice on the door and whomever brought the mail in, they're thinking Brian is in some deep doo-doo or what. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Chances are there are many people who listen to this show, this station, that have health business up at Hawthorne. Chances are you've got one of these coming to you in the mail if you haven't already received it. How about the CEO of Stewart, that De La Torre's guy, taking off for Paris to watch the Olympic, the equestrian of all things. Apparently, he likes to watch the little horsies run around. And I guess I could get into, is that something that really should be an Olympic sport? But it is. But he's over there. Maura Healey is here, and she wants the feds to do something about this guy. Look, he's got his company already in bankruptcy court. I'm sitting down, and I'm thinking, well, did he take the $40 million yacht over to Paris? Or was it the one that was about $15 million? Or did he take the $40 million airplane? Or the cheapo airplane? This guy is, he's trash. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's as much trash as that notice I'm not filing anything against Stewart. I don't think they owe me anything. I think they owe a lot of people their job, but they don't owe me anything. Maybe they owe you something, and have at it. Have at it. I want to tell you quickly about something that I just found out about. We'll get to Jim in just a bit. But as you know, we had whatever tropical rainstorm Debbie barreled through here the past couple of days. And something I did not know, maybe you did, maybe you did not, and this is something that you're learning about today. 80 people have been pulled out of the water this summer around Horseneck Beach. Rip currents. Rip currents. And I saw the story and I'm saying to myself, 80 people. Why are we just now hearing about it? Well, because I guess the news crew got down there and they did a story. But as I'm reading this, I'm thinking rip currents and I'm seeing R.I.P. You're probably thinking the same thing. Rest in peace. No fatalities, but 80 people pulled out because they want to check out the water during these particular times. Now, there are lifeguards up in the stands. There are the yellow flags out there waving caution. I suppose it would be worse if there were red flags and people got out there into the water. But at some particular point, folks, you got to realize when you should be in the water and when you shouldn't be in the water. I don't know. But that's what's going on.
This is Big Government Stories.
Here's one for you. 12-year-old kid, boy, he's got a brother. The brother plays hockey on one of those special needs hockey teams. So the 12-year-old brother, the older one, opens up an ice cream stand to make money for that special needs hockey team. Pretty good idea. He made homemade ice cream with the help of his mom. Enter the Board of Health with a cease and desist order. You can't sell that. You can't be making money selling that ice cream. The kid is trying to make money for the hockey team. Can you believe this? It happened up in Norwood, just to let you know. It wasn't in our backyard per se. So, nothing like the entrepreneurial spirit. The 12-year-old boy has decided he's going to give the ice cream away. And it's going to have a tip jar out there on the side. So if people want to donate some money, well, then it's okay. Nice thinking, kid. The mother seems to believe, there was no problem until he went online. The kid went online and he made this fancy design for a logo. And the mother believes that the town of Norwood thought that, hey, this was an enterprising business instead of a kid trying to raise some money for his brother's special needs hockey team. That's where we are here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. 508-996-0500 to get onto the program. Hello.
Hi, Bri.
Hi, Bri.
So, I got caught in a rip current once that I didn't expect on Second Beach in Middletown, Rhode Island, and I went from I was on a paddleboard and like a boogie board type thing, sitting in the waves, and then before I knew it, I looked up and the lifeguard tower was about the size of my thumb. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? And luckily I knew how to get out of it, but the lifeguard didn't even recognize me or see. And I was probably the only one that far out. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, how does he not see me? And then, anyway, so it took me literally half an hour to swim back in because you have to swim diagonally. And I finally got back in, and luckily I had a boogie board with me, so that helped, with the flotation. But it kind of hurt too because every time I get in a current, it would push it out. But
is it one of those situations when you just didn't know that rip currents were going on?
Yeah, I didn't know that. But the other thing too is I started looking up rip currents and kind of studying it. And certain places around the world, they actually mark the beach where the rip current starts because they can see it. And I didn't really notice that if you walk down the beach, or if you've got a drone, which is even handier for a lifeguard, you can see where the water moves towards the center, and then it stops at one point, and then it goes straight out. That's where the rip current is. So and so you can actually see where the rip currents are. And if you want to put a flotation device in the water, you can see it go out or whatever. But they should be marking those places like safe and unsafe zones. But there's places around the world, in Brazil and other places, they mark the beach. So they try to prevent people from getting in a rip current area because it's usually only like 5 feet wide, 10 feet wide, maybe somewhere in there. It's not super wide. It's not like the whole beach. It's just a little section where the waters come in and then they gather towards the middle, and then they flood out. And I'm always surprised that that the state or has not sort of figured out hey, this is a really risky situation because if someone's out of shape or someone doesn't know how to swim well, they could
easily
they not have time to wait for the lifeguard.
Exactly. It as you said, it takes you out. It's not like it's throwing you on shore.
Well, and it takes you out fast enough that you don't understand because your perspective is eye level on the water. It's just the water and the beach. But when I first noticed I was out, I was like, whoa, how did I get this far out? And I didn't even feel it. I was just buoyant, and it just took me out. And I was like, wow. And I was, I don't know, 150 feet offshore, maybe more than that, before I noticed it. And I was probably 200 feet before I had to start to come back in. But yeah, they could do a lot more. Let's put it that way. It's really not that complex to figure out.
Well, I was watching this on, I think it was on New England cable news, and the lifeguard stands are spaced out like they are at Horse Neck, and the yellow flags are out. So they've given the warning about the rip tides.
Right.
And yet people are still out there, and the lifeguards are sitting there in their tower chair like they're supposed to do. And I'm looking at these guys that, they've got the Buddha belly, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is not good. This is not good. You're not going to make it, man.
Well, that's why going all the way back to Baywatch and on TV, and you see the California beaches, and they all have sit on jet skis, and a lot of them have a little platform board that they drag behind it, and that thing's sitting on the beach, and they can jump on it, hit the button, and boom, they're out right at whoever they're trying to help very, very quickly. This whole swimming out with a thing over your shoulder, and that's great, if you don't have to go too far. But with a rip current, people can get out really fast. And if the lifeguard, in my case, lifeguard didn't notice me, which was a surprise because I was waving my hand. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this.
Probably having a conversation with somebody else. Who's that guy?
Yeah, some girl on the beach.
I'm taking his business.
Well, I just think that it's very easy to figure out the rip currents when you walk a beach, especially if you have a drone, because you can see the water breaking on the shore, and when you watch the break, the foam, it moves. It moves either left or right from where it breaks. Sometimes it goes straight out. When it goes straight out, that's safe. If it moves along the shoreline and then gathers into one spot from both sides and then starts to move out, that's where the rip current is.
And I'm glad you explained it. I still wouldn't know myself. And my guess is there are a lot of other people that have no clue as to how that kind of stuff works.
I had no clue. And it's
look how you found out.
Well, you can feel it too. And you stand in the water at ankle or let's say half a shin deep, and then you could feel how much pull there is in the water when it's going out after a wave breaks. A lot of times it just trickles by your legs. Other times you feel like you're almost being pulled in. That's more of a rip current. You can feel the difference.
Gotcha.
It's literally a river that's been created at a certain level of the tide, and they come and they go. You have to keep an eyeball on it. And I'm always surprised if there's not something on the beach that says rip current or swim over here or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. 80 people pulled out of the water this summer over at Horseneck. So this has happened quite a few times. And the fact that people are still going in there, as I said, the flags are out and the lifeguards are sitting in their tower chairs.
Yeah. Well,
it says a lot. Hey, thanks for the call.
Yeah.
I do appreciate it. Let us make our way over to Studio 6 and 7/8, where Jim Phillips is going to tell us about what's coming up on Town Square Sunday. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Phillips, and here's what's happening this week on Town Square Sunday. Several years ago, Gnome Surf in Rhode Island was a small organization providing surfing lessons to autistic youngsters. Now they're providing lessons to thousands of children and their families at 4 different locations. We'll hear about the growth of Gnome Surf from founder Chris Anteo and CEO Jen Potter. We'll also get an update from Matt Dancero about homeless families and individuals living in Dartmouth and how you can help. And the New Bedford Fire Museum is open for the summer. Larry Roy, the founding volunteer, will have details. Join me for Town Square Sunday morning at 6 and 11 on 1420 WBSM and 99.5 FM.
Thank you very much, Jim. Let us now find out what's going on in the world of crypto. The Bitcoin Biz Barometer, where we measure the universal crypto marketplace. Whew. Bit of a bloodbath once again for Bitcoin, down to $60,503. At one particular time during the week, it went under $50,000, but it climbed back up. It's a volatile coin, for lack of a better term. At any rate, down $1,177 from this week, this time last week. Ethereum coming in at $26.21, down $360. Binance Coin at $510 is down $33. Solana up $2 at $154. XRP is up a penny at 58 cents. Toncoin even at $6. And Dogecoin 10 cents, down a penny. That's your Bitcoin Biz Barometer for today, August 10th, 2024. As always, I get my numbers from CoinMarketCap.com. CoinMarketCap.com. Speaking of money, if you voted for the millionaire tax a couple of years ago, you must be happier than a clam. The fiscal year that ended, June 30th? The millionaire's tax brought in $2.2 billion. And so I guess it's no sweat that the Healy administration can come up with $93.5 million for what seems to be free community college. And a representative from the coalition, I forgot their name, but anyway, the Coalition for social justice. They believe that the millionaires and billionaires, they're gonna stay here in the Commonwealth. There are some Bacon Hill lawmakers that don't seem to agree with that sentiment. They are thinking that this 4% surtax on incomes over $1 million will indeed lead to some folks leaving the state. I do too. And the reason why I'm saying this is because some of these millionaires, some of these billionaires have already come out and said, hey, we're leaving. Now, they've got the wherewithal to do it. They're millionaires. They can buy another property. They probably have another property in another state, or maybe 2 or 3. So it would not surprise me to see some of them leave, and the $2.2 billion take it in this year. Well, maybe next year it's $2 billion, the fiscal year that we're in right now. But then all of a sudden it drops down to $1.5 billion. Next thing you know, you're in the millions. You know what we're into today? And you should be happy. Well, not everybody is happy. It's the sales tax holiday today and tomorrow. And I guess there's reason to celebrate unless you want to go out to eat. Because even though there's a sales tax when you go to a restaurant, it's not exempt. You're going to have to pay that today. If you decide to buy an inexpensive car or motorcycle, guess what? The sales tax holiday doesn't pertain to you. Maybe you're thinking, I got to get some gas at the gas station. BJ's, they're down to $3.07 a gallon. I've got my BJ's card. I'm going to go there and get gas. That price is still going to be $3.07. Why? Because even though you're buying gasoline and you're not spending $2,500 for that gasoline, there's still a sales tax on that gasoline. You want to buy cigabutts, cigars, pipe tobacco? The sales tax is still on those items. You want to buy some pot? Sales tax is still on that item. Want to go to the liquor store because all this news that I'm giving to you is just bumming you out. You're still going to pay the tax at the liquor store. Some sales tax holiday. But if you want to buy school supplies, not school clothing because clothing isn't taxed here in the Commonwealth, but school supplies, pencils, rulers. Does anybody buy pencils anymore? Rulers, that kind of stuff. Backpacks. No sales tax unless you're spending over $2,500 for one of those items. Maybe you're going to buy a computer. Well, that's okay. No sales tax today if you want to buy a computer for whatever reason, as long as you're not spending over $2,500 for that computer. So you're saying to yourself, oh, good, my company could use a computer or 2 or 3 or 4. We've got the sales tax holiday. Might as well go out and buy them now. Because it's taxable if you are a corporation or a business or an individual buying these items for business use. So now you're flipping mad. You're saying to yourself, I thought this was supposed to be a sales tax holiday. This is no holiday. I can't go to the restaurant. I can't buy a vehicle. I can't get liquor. I can't get gasoline. I can't get weed. What kind of holiday is this? It's a holiday that's been set up by Bacon Hill lawmakers. Now, if I seem a little offish, just think. We've got a state to the north of us. It's called New Hampshire. Do you realize that New Hampshire does not have a sales tax except for tobacco products and alcohol products? They don't have a state sales tax. They don't have a state income tax. And you have to sit there and ask yourself, how do they do it? They seem like a pretty normal state. There are people leaving Massachusetts for New Hampshire more than New Hampshire folks leaving to come to Massachusetts. How do they do it? How do they make it in New Hampshire? Yeah, I want to know the same thing too. Now, I do know that they do have a high property tax to pay for schools and whatnot up in New Hampshire. Woman friend and I were commenting the other day, when we were up in New Hampshire last year, a year ago this month, in fact, we were noticing on the highways how clean and smooth the highways are. No litter to the side. When we crossed into Massachusetts, all of a sudden, it was like litter mart all over the place. Styrofoam cups, paper plates, those kind of things in Massachusetts, but not in New Hampshire. It begs that question. How are they able to do it? 508-996-0500. Enjoy the sales tax holiday. Yes, we're here. I heard the commercial for SouthCoast Towing, and I want to thank them so much for making the WBSM app available on my smartphone and yours. We don't have to pay anything for it. SouthCoast Towing is picking up the charge. No problem at all. And of course, once you have it on your phone, you can listen anywhere in the house or in the car or wherever. If you're going out into the riptides, don't take your phone out there, but sitting at the beach, you can certainly listen to what's going on. 74 degrees in Wareham, 71 in Westport, 74 in New Bedford. And still a trickle of rain coming down, at least here in Fairhaven. I'm not quite sure what it's doing in your backyard. Next hour, an update on what's happening, those migrants or whomever living in emergency shelters, their eviction notice to get kicked out, that kicked in yesterday. I've got an update on where they're going. And might as well bring this up at the time. We were talking about the sales tax holiday. And I mentioned the part about $2,500. If you spend more than $2,500 on a single item, then you are going to pay the tax. According to the Commonwealth, if you spend more than $2,500 on an item, the entire amount paid for that item is subject to the sales tax. So if you're thinking, okay, well, it's $2,502, well, guess what? You're paying a tax on the whole $2,502. If you purchase an item of clothing that costs more than $175, you're going to pay the tax on any amount over $175. If you buy an item today or tomorrow, and the price of that item of clothing